Peace, family. This video right here is about your ego versus your spirit. First of all, a lot of people don't understand. They think they spiritual, but they not. They really egotistical. And this video here is to help you get a mental line that you can draw yourself and learn how to distinguish when you're in your ego versus when you're in your spirit. Now, ego versus spirit. So, the ego is symbolic to fear. The spirit is symbolic to love. Now, you will only understand this if you have a certain level of understanding. Now, what I mean by this is, so, I'll give you an example, right? When you in your ego, the ego is a fictitious entity which does not exist, but you have configured it to exist and live according to whoever you think this person is. So now you inherit positive and negative qualities of a fictitious person that doesn't exist outside of your own mind. For example, okay, some people, this is how some people can become schizophrenic, believing that they are somebody else. But outside of that, ego, a lot of people got about 100 different egos. This is where you get the term, oh, you being fake or you switching up coming from. For example, you are not the same person in a club that you are in church. You are not the same person at a job interview that you are chilling with your peoples. Why? Because you have different characters in your brain that you turn into in order to handle different situations. When you are about to get into a fight, you are not the same person versus when you about to go out on a date. These are different entities or people that you think that you are and you actually manifest and live through. Now, these egos exist for one reason, because you have to make up and create something to help you function in moments of experiencing reality, because you're not functioning in your true self, which is the spirit. Now, what do I mean by this? The spirit is love. The spirit loves regardless to whom or what. The spirit loves trees, animals, you, me. It doesn't destroy. It don't bust windows. When you in the true form of spirit, you love all things. But we've been being taught that that's corny. We've been being taught that that's not cool. That's lame. So now we're being in our egos because we allow the most egotistical person on the planet to govern us. So now now let me get back into depth about being in the ego. The ego is fear. The spirit is love. For example, the ego says I have to have a certain name brand clothes on, a certain name brand piece of clothing on, or else I'm in fear of what somebody else might think about me. The spirit says it doesn't matter what I'm wearing because there's somebody out there that doesn't have anything to wear, so I'm thankful for what I have. And I understand that these people are trapped in their ego, so why would I allow them to dictate what I wear? The ego says, I'm going to act a certain way, and I'm going to do certain things because people think it's cool, and if I don't, I'm a lame. So if I don't pick this gun up or sell these drugs like TV and everybody around me want me to do because I think it's cool, then I'm going to be soft or I'm not in, or females ain't going to like me. The spirit says, I'm going to meditate today. I'm going to go outside and take my shoes off and let my toes feel the dirt in the grass because I'm in tune with nature. I'm not going to get a gun and kill my fellow black man or use derogatory statements towards my black queen because I love them, even though they are in their egos, so they're too blind to love themselves. Follow me? Now, getting deeper into the ego versus spirit. The ego wants to destroy anything that feels will destroy it, which has to do with the spirit. And I'm trying to free y'all. So listen to this message, because there are actual entities that you believe that you are, and you have given them existence through your mind, and they have actually enslaved you, and you're forced to live in their realm. For example, if your name is Murder, your mother didn't name you Murder, but you in the streets and your name is Murder. So we know that names summon certain qualifications from whatever it is we're conceptualizing this name upon. So what I mean by this is, if your name is Love, you subconsciously must live according to that name. Now we know what love means. So a person named Love, we don't mentally expect them to do certain things because we know what love means. So if I bring my man into your house and I say, "Hi, how are you? This is my best friend. His name is Love." You don't really feel too uncomfortable because your mind understands the reality of the word love and what it means. Now, if I bring my man in the house and I say, "How you doing? This is my man, Two Guns Murder, Bloody Clap Clap." What? You automatically gonna be like, "Oh, hell no," because your mind understands what those words mean. Murder, gun, bloody, bloody. No. So when you name yourself, you are placing upon yourself a fictitious entity that must live according to that name. This is where the ego comes in. So all you niggas running around with the name Murder, whatever you niggas is naming yourself nowadays, or you females, your name is, instead of your name being God, we like, for example, you would never, I've never heard of a stripper name that called that name herself a divine attribute. I don't know a stripper named Mayat or Aset or any type of righteous principle. If it is, please change your name. But with that being said, most strippers have names like Candy, Cinnamon, or porn stars got names like Superhead, Lethal Lips. Now, why are these names detrimental? Because you must live according to that name. So if I bring my girlfriend to your house, to my mother's house, or your mother's house, and I say, "Hi, how are you, ma'am? I would like you to meet my wife. Her name is Superhead." What? Automatically you're gonna say, "Oh, hell no," because the mind understands that this person is out of tune with their spirit. Because you have conceptualized a negative entity and fictitious person that you must now live according to. "Hi, how are you, mom? This is my girlfriend right here. Her name is Lethal Lips." What? This person, the automatic rejection is not about being racist. It's about understanding that you're out of tune with your spirit. Now, please, nobody take these names and don't try to go on a run like Raven Simone and say ghetto names, because the reason black people name their daughters things like Rashida or Rynetta is because, for instance, Rynetta. Now, you might think that's a ghetto-ass name. No, it's not. Because we know Africans use words like netta or netcher. You have a book out called the Metu Netta or Meta Netcher. The spirit of the black person is naturally rebelling against the English language, because we know that the English language, even by speaking it, doesn't allow you to use certain faculties of your mind. It actually enslaves you vocally, but I'm not going to get into that. I'll make another video on that. Now, with that being said, the black person is naturally rebelling against the English name. So, how dare you, Raven Simone? Just to get off subject real quick. How dare you, Raven Simone, talk about black people names being ghetto? Don't you know your great-great-grandmother had a ghetto-ass name according to these white people on that slave ship? She probably had a name like Wakuku Makaba or some crazy shit like that. But now her name is Joanne McCarlin. And you think that that's proper. No. So, with that being said, back on the ego. The ego, you must be careful because you fuel the ego as long as you believe in it, and this is actually an entity that you create and attach to yourself, and it enslaves you, because now it's hard to make life decisions spiritually because you got the ego whispering in your mind to tell you to do whatever it is that will keep it alive. Now let's go back to a man in the streets named Murder. Your name Murder, right? Murder. You might have changed you might have had your spirit might have woken, and you might have really had a righteous moment and wanted to change your life. Now let's just make a scenario up. It might not have really happened. A dude step on your shoes, and then instead of him saying "my bad," he be like, "Watch the fuck out, nigga." The first thing you gonna feel like is, "Nigga, I'm Murder from such and such. Nigga, I'll bust your fucking head. I'll clap you." And you feel like you got something to prove, but you don't have nothing to prove. Your ego that you have fictitiously created has something to prove. The spirit, love, understands that this is a fool. So let's compare Murder with somebody like a Buddhist monk. Ignorant indoctrinated black person steps on Murder shoes. Murder's not his soul. His ego, the fictitious person that he thinks he is, that exists, that he has created, responds with, "Nigga, I'm Murder from such and such and such and such, nigga." And now Murder, in order to prove himself or give this ego life, because now this ego at that particular time knows it will immediately be crushed if the spirit makes a loving decision on this. So what the ego makes you do is it makes you feel fearful. Fearful of what? Fearful of being what you call pussy if you let this ride. So what the ego does is it stimulates you with this false fear. Which fear, F-E-A-R, false evidence appearing real. It's not real. So now what the ego does is it stimulates you with fear and you respond egotistically, which the ego is probably rooted in violence. Because with a name like murder, it's rooted in violence. So you respond violently. Now the rest of the egotistical community respects you for that. Yeah, my man murder don't go for nothing. My man murder about that life. But the spiritual beings, you still not allowed in their realm yet because you enslaved by the ego. Now getting back on point. A man steps on murder shoes, murder responds egotistically. He steps on somebody in tune with their spirit shoes. Fuck you, watch where you walking. The spirit just says, oh, okay. Excuse me. Why? We don't care because we love this fool. Why? Because we know he's a fool. And he don't love himself, so we have to love him for him. And we understand that if he loved himself, he wouldn't even talk to me like that because he would understand I am an extension of himself. So get out your ego and get back in your spirit. Now, how do you do this? I'm going to give you the steps. It's very simple. You don't have to go see a guru. You don't have to light no incense. You don't have to do no magical ritual, nothing. All you have to do is start practicing. Because why? We know when you work out, you exercise. And whatever you exercise will, in the end, become the result. If you want to upgrade in the weights you lift, you start lifting heavier weights. At first it's hard, then it becomes easier. So now we're going to compare actions to weights and practicing the exercise. When you practice certain actions, the weights is being positive. Whenever the situation at hand presents itself, that is what you will exercise. What do I mean by that? As hard as it may be. Now we're not saying let nobody walk all over you before we get this twisted, because ain't nobody gonna walk all over me. But I understand certain situations. Now with that being said, practice good. Practice things like if you're a liar and you know you're a liar, and I don't gotta tell you you're a liar, practice not lying. Because lying is actually can be addictive. And people don't understand that. You can start, like, the way you can start becoming a habitual liar, maybe as a kid you got whooped a lot for no reason. Like you grew up in an Antoine Fisher type home. So you began to lie in order to save yourself. So now you've been lying for about 15 years. So now you're 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old. And you have conditioned yourself to lying. So start practicing telling the truth when the opportunity presents itself. And the more you practice this, that will become normal to you and lying will become unnormal. This is the same steps you need to take with anything. If you're a thief, I'm not saying you're a thief for bad reasons. Maybe you're a thief for good reasons. You never had nothing. Now, when you put yourself in a position where you don't have to be a thief, start practicing to not steal when nobody's looking because you can. And that will bring you back to the righteous side. Whenever you want to say something negative to a person, say something positive. Force the positivity. Whenever you have a negative thought, force the positive thought. And it's going to be hard, just like working out at first. But after a while, lifting on weights is going to be easy. Or being positive is going to be easy. And that is how you change your life. The mystery God in the sky is not going to take you out of your ego and put you back in your spirit. Because you already should have been in your spirit because you are the God. And if you knew that, you would have never been in your ego. So with that being said, come out your ego and come back into the spirit realm. And unless you do that, you will be trapped and your life will always be negative. And this is why your lives are negative. Religious people are trapped in their egos. They cannot help you with the spiritual journey. You must help yourself. And with that being said, peace.